Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Scotty No Show. This is episode 67. We're two away from our nice episode. um, but we have Paul Adam on the show. Paul, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Scotty.
One thing I've always wondered, does it bother you when people add an S to your last name?
Um, I'm kind of stubborn about it and I correct people usually, but it doesn't bug me. Like it doesn't make me mad. No, I can't say that. It's a good
Okay.
question though.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
It
That's all right.
yeah.
Easy mistake.
Um you go to the that red school, don't you?
I go to the Harvard of the Dakotas, the University of South Dakota. Yep. I'll be going into my third year there, junior year, studying computer science with a minor in business analytics. So it's going well. I
Dang.
like it. Yeah, I like it down in Verm. It's a good time. It's a good social setting and good academics too. Got some good professors and some good friends down there. So lucky to be in the spot where I'm at down in Verm, the Verm hole.
Yep. Verm, of course, is lucky that Huron exists because if it didn't, it'd be the worst town in South Dakota. But
Fair enough. Probably not the nicest town in South Dakota if we're
no.
going on. Yeah, but hey, it's a great college town. That's
Are
for sure.
I saw are you in like a fraternity or something?
Yep, I'm in Delta Tau Delta. It's a fraternity on I guess our house isn't on campus at USD, but we're a part of the university system. We're governed by the university. So that's a lot of fun. It's a great way to meet a lot of cool guys that are like-minded and have similar goals and ambitions. And it's been a great way to meet new people down there for sure.
Now, did you have to like pay dues or do the rush thing and all that stuff?
Yep. So I had to rush freshman year. I rushed my freshman fall. You can do it any at the beginning of any semester. There's always a rush, um, but the fall rush experience is a lot better than the spring rush on any given year. It's just when most guys do it, and the houses like have activities planned out, food. It's a really good time to like meet everyone. Whereas if you uh, rush in the spring, it's more just like going to chapters. It's chapter meetings. We have those every Monday at 5 o'clock. It's just where we like talk about the week ahead and um, just our one meeting for the week, I guess. But to go back to your question, yeah, I do have to pay dues. I actually live in the house, so I live on
Oh,
second floor, and I'll be doing that again this coming fall, which I'm excited for. And so I have to pay rent,
oh
and then
boy.
there's also some dues. Part of that is like our University of South Dakota chapter, and then part of that will go to Delta Tau Delta, which is like a national organization. There's Delta Tau Deltas at a bunch of different campuses across the United States. So I'm a part of the Delta Gamma chapter at USD, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think my one of my roommates in college, he was in I think it's called Delta Chi at
Okay,
SDSU.
yeah, I think Delta Chi is another fraternity. That's on some different college campuses across
Yeah.
the U.S. So, yeah, for sure.
I know we would get in fights with the AGR guys from time to time, but
AGR. Okay.
yeah, I think that's what they were called themselves. But
Nice.
I believe you might be the first person that I know of that we've had on the show that has a twin.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Twins for the win, for
Yeah.
sure.
So yeah, you obviously, Phil. Um
Yeah.
uh do twins have some sort of like telekinesis thing?
There's been some pretty funny times where Phil and I will like say the exact same thing at the exact same time, and then we'll kind of look at each other like, "Whoa, what did we just do?" But I don't think he can read my mind, and I know I can't read his. Um, I guess it probably just comes with spending so much time with one another. I mean, I've spent all 20 years of my life with him by my side, so it's definitely made for a lot of fun and a lot of fights, that's for sure. But he's my brother, and I love him.
Speaking of brothers, how's Conrad doing?
Conrad's great. Conrad and his wife Caitlin just moved back to Sioux Falls, so they're closer to home now than they were in Minneapolis. But yeah, he's Conrad's awesome. He's thriving at life. He kills it.
And I believe Jack just got like a job or something. I saw something.
Yep. Yeah, Jack just moved from Watertown. That's where he started out at after graduating from USD in the spring of 21. He was working in Watertown. That's where my sister Catherine, brother-in-law Eric, and nephew Pierce live. But then he moved to Sioux Falls where he got a job with a tech company there. So Omnitech, it's right on the intersection of 229 and 29. So
Okay,
yeah,
yep.
Jack and Con actually just live right down the street from each other in Sioux Falls. So same, they're neighbors now, which
Oh
is a
my
lot of fun.
gosh.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out Eric. Love him.
Yeah, Eric's
So,
awesome. Definitely a welcome addition to the Adam family.
and also shout out to your mom. She just got I guess re-upped on the school board, kind of.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's an awesome honor for her. She's definitely a capable person, and people at Pierce said that during election night. But yeah, super proud of my mom. She's awesome to have, to be able to look up to, and love her to death for sure. Yeah, super
So
big honor.
so you are the first twin, but you're also the second person who is the son of somebody that was on that 82 basketball team for Pierre to be on the show.
Oh yeah,
So
who
with
was the other one?
and the other one is Dom Smith. That's Doug Smith's kid.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, um, yeah, that's is Jack Van Camp messaging me? What is going on here? Yes, he is. I'll deal with you later,
JVC,
Jack. I'll deal
shout
with
out
you later.
JVC.
Um, something I don't think I've ever uh thanked you publicly for is that there was a night or a day where I was very kind of I was considering like leaving Pierre,
Okay, yeah.
and I came to, it was like homecoming, I think, and you guys were playing against Huron. I'm almost certain. And uh you kind of helped me after I had an anxiety attack. So I want to
Oh,
thank you for that.
yeah, absolutely, Scotty. That's all right. I have those bad days too. I struggle with anxiety myself, and I think most people do. It's just most people don't talk about it. So you're a
Yeah.
strong person for talking about that. Good for you, Scotty.
Yeah. So we have 10 topics here,
Okay.
10 sports topics. The first obviously is it's the big one. It's the NBA finals.
Okay, cool.
Did you did you watch last night's game?
I did. I watched it's kind of hard for me to keep paying attention to it because the Warriors were up by quite a bit for the second half. The whole second half. They had the game pretty much in control. Um, but yeah, watched the Warriors take down the Celtics last night in San Fran. So that was definitely cool. I guess I'm a really poor NBA fan. I don't even know if I can call myself a fan of the NBA. I don't really watch it that much, but definitely still see it on Sports Center and see the updates. But yeah, I claim to be a Houston Rockets fan, but I know they weren't any good this year. Yeah.
No, no,
Yep.
they had Jalen Green, I think it was, and that was like the only good player that they had.
I couldn't have even told you that, Scotty. It shows what type of fan I am.
Yeah.
I was a
Um.
big fan when Harden went there back
Yep.
in, it would have been the 12-13 season. It
Yep.
was the new age. It's actually when my brother Conrad was in Houston for a little bit. We made it to a few of those games, and that was an awesome squad. They had James Harden and Chandler Parsons, prime Chandler
Oh
Parsons.
yeah.
Yeah, that
I
was right before Dwight Howard, but Jeremy Lin, I think, was there for a little bit.
a
Yeah,
little
Jeremy
bit.
Lin was there.
I very distinctly remember Harden joining the Rockets getting traded. I remember exactly where I was. I was at the big White House on the corner of 6th and 13th and Brookings,
Oh yeah.
and at a party, and I get this notification that James Harden had just been traded. And I'm like, all right, let's start drinking again. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was the best time for like a little fifth grader Paul. That was right as the Imagine Dragons Night
Oh my
Vision album came
gosh.
out. And so their whole like marketing campaign, I guess, the Rockets, it was welcome to the new age. And it was
Ooh.
James Harden, and they played Radioactive by the Imagine Dragons at all their games and in their hype video. And it always made for a lot of fun going to those games and seeing the hype video and James Harden running out. I don't know where it is right now. I moved some stuff around in my room, but I have this little foam ball the Rockets players would run out of the tunnel and throw balls to like the kids in the stands. And I was just a little fifth grader at the time. And I actually locked eyes with James Harden, and he tossed me a ball. So that was pretty cool. I still have that ball around here somewhere. I'm not sure where it's at right now, but yeah.
um I think we're going to have yet another Steph Curry is a good basketball player, but he's apparently not good enough to win NBA Finals MVP. Apparently,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, there was those 2 years that KD got it, and then there was the year that Andre Iguodala got it. This year it might be Andrew Wiggins because he played unreal last night.
Yeah, I saw a few of his layups like as highlights, and he had some really nice like kind of weaving between people layups. And yeah, I've been seeing his name a lot. He
Well,
was
the
what was
defense he's
that?
been playing on Tatum is unbelievable. I think Tatum is something like 5 from 15 or something like that. Whenever Wiggins is guarding him,
Really?
yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
terrible.
it's
33%.
yeah. Um, did you see that? Fake Clay Thompson
Yeah,
got kicked out of and banned from the Chase Center.
I loved that. Was it just the Chase Center? I saw that he got banned. I didn't know if it was from like the whole NBA or it was just the Chase
I
Center.
think it's just Warriors games in general because
Okay.
he apparently looks like Clay Thompson. I kind of see a little bit more Miles Teller from all these, like, what was that Top Gun movie or whatever.
Oh
I
yeah.
see a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
he he went through 5 layers of security, was hanging around the players, participated in warm-ups, and they're like, wait a minute, you're not Clay Thompson.
Isn't that awesome? Just kept that hoodie up, showed the goatee. That was awesome.
And Clay Thompson's got a beard now, so it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's funny. He kind of looks like if Clay Thompson and the main character from The King of the Hill had a kid. It'd be that guy. Kind of got that like that flat face. No
Yeah,
disrespect to the fake Clay Thompson. I think you're awesome, but if you ever hear that, shout out.
yeah. And Jordan Poole also, I mean, he had a pretty good game last night
Yeah,
too. I would say that. Um we're gonna move on to the NFL. Which before we go to that, have you been watching any of the hockey playoffs at all?
no, I haven't. I'm not an NHL fan. I never
Okay.
played hockey in high school. I went to some of the Caps games because I had buddies playing, but not a big NHL guy. My
I
my sport recently is UFC. I'm a big MMA fan. I can
okay.
give you some picks on the UFC fights coming up this weekend if you want.
Yes. We'll have that at the end of this portion of the show.
Sweet.
But Deshaun Watson, he addressed the media today. Wanted to try and he said he just wants his name cleared. Usually, though, most athletes don't hire 66 different massage therapists in 17 months.
Yeah, he can't get a break, and I don't think he deserves a break, honestly. I think if this many females are coming out saying XYZ against him, then there was clearly something going on.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever,
Yeah.
but he needs to get it figured out. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of ridiculous, or someone needs to get something figured out because he's with the Browns now, isn't he?
Yeah. And the
Yeah,
thing is that the Browns have angered. Well, first of all, they're paying him $230 million. He might never even play for the team.
damn. I wouldn't mind
Um,
that.
yeah, but they've angered uh, Baker Mayfield so much. I don't think he's ever going to play for them either. So it's like,
Yeah.
who are you going to have play for the team? Somebody in the USFL that's playing right now? Like, what are you doing?
How's the USFL? Is that like that's like it, did it used to be the XFL?
So the XFL was happening, and then the pandemic happened, and then that kind of went away. And then The Rock bought it. He bought the XFL. The USFL is a completely different league.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a league that was around in the 80s, and it was so like it was actually fairly popular in the 80s because Herschel Walker for like he was drafted by I think Tampa, um but he decided he didn't want to play for them for the Buccaneers, so he decided, hey, I'm going to go and play in the USFL. That was in the 80s. And
Sure. Okay.
and the USFL was the breeding ground for a lot of great NFL players. Reggie White started there. Steve Young started there. Jim Kelly. All of these really good NFL players started in the USFL in the 80s. And then Donald Trump decided to buy the New Jersey Generals and decided to push all of the owners in the league to try and compete with the NFL, and it failed. So
Dang.
that, yeah, there's a great documentary on it on ESPN Plus, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sweet. Might have to watch that.
yeah, Small Potatoes, the story of the USFL. They literally sold the league for like $1.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, um, yeah, I'm gonna try and get because I think they're gunning towards their playoff race or something like that. I'm gonna try and get into it a little bit now, but it's kind of hard to get into it because all the games are played in Birmingham right now.
Really? Alabama. Huh.
Yeah, so it's like you have a team called the Pittsburgh Maulers, yet they never play in Pittsburgh. So
Hmm.
what's the point? You
Fair
know.
enough. Yeah.
But are you aware of this Live Golf Tour?
I've heard a little bit about it. It's the league that signed Dustin Johnson for a ton of money, didn't they?
Yep,
Yeah.
like $230
Yeah.
million.
Wow. It's not a bad
Yeah.
payday, is it?
Well, they tried to well, it's Saudi. It's Saudi Arabia.
That's what I've heard.
The Saudi government is trying to kind of use sports and entertainment to kind of repair their image because
Okay.
they
Yeah.
they
Terrible human rights,
yeah, terrible with human rights.
especially women. Yeah.
Yep. Well, they have deals with the WWE too, and
Really.
so women originally weren't allowed to even compete in Saudi Arabia, and now they are. They just have to wear like special clothing that covers basically their entire bodies.
Hmm.
But the Live Golf Tour, it's kind of 1 second here. Sorry,
No, you're
throat
good.
throat's a little dry. It's it's
It's all
it's
good.
it's very hot outside.
You're right. It
um,
is.
yeah. So the Saudi government, I believe, owns or is like funding this. It's being like the figurehead is Greg Norman. He's a guy who blew like a massive lead in like the 92 Masters or something like that. They used to call him the Great White Shark.
Huh.
He's from Australia, I believe.
Okay.
He's like their figurehead. Like they've got all these guys that are there. Really, all they really are there for is for the money. That's it.
Yeah.
They're not there to play against the best golfers. They're there for the money.
Isn't that just sports in general though? Like,
True.
think about the NBA, NFL.
True. But the PGA responded by suspending all the players that are in that from participating in PGA events, with the only exception I think being the US Open, because it's the Open. I mean, it's an open invitation
to everyone. Yeah.
Don't know what they're going to do about the PGA, or the PGA Championship. They can't. The live golfers can't participate in. Don't know what they're going to do about the Masters, because Augusta National kind of owns that.
Yeah.
But this is the funniest part of the entire thing. The PGA, whoever the head of the PGA is, was talking about the Live Golf Tour, and he referenced 9/11 and apparently Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11. And it's like, dude, don't do that. Come on, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Got to leave that out of it. I mean, it's still quite touchy for a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a great look.
No. Brooks Koepka said it's, because this week is the week of the US Open. And he said that the whole situation just has like some sort of a black cloud over everything. I think eventually we're going to get to a situation where the PGA Tour and the Live Golf Tour kind of coexist at some point.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's just my thoughts. The Live Tour I don't think will prosper if it doesn't have a TV deal, which it doesn't. It has like a streaming thing. It's available on their website and on like their social media platforms. And if you're a golf fan, and most golf fans are pretty old, you're probably not going to go on Facebook in order to watch a golf tournament.
Fair enough. Yeah, true.
So
I don't know if most grandparents know how to use Facebook anyway.
Yeah.
Or any streaming service.
My grandma definitely doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think I don't know about the coexisting. Just if you look at like other sports, there's always one promotion that always like really flourishes, and then the rest are always kind of the B and the C and the D team.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just maybe a little competition that the PGA Tour has never seen. Will it probably get to the level the PGA Tour is on right now? No. But they'll waste a ton of money doing it. Dustin Johnson will make a ton of money, and a few other guys, but I guess we'll see who swims and who sinks. So yeah.
Other than in games in which good old Peyton Zabel plays, do you watch college baseball?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Never really been a baseball fan. I guess I played when I was a little kid, before you got to teeners, just little city league where you dressed up in the MLB teams logos, but never really got big into baseball. I always like to have my summers open, especially living in Pierre.
Yeah.
Got to use the river while you have it, right?
Yeah. I've always found that aspect of like little kids baseball to be kind of hilarious, because what if you end up playing for like the Red Sox or whatever and you're a Yankee fan?
Yeah.
That would suck so bad.
Yeah, just being a little kid having to wear that every game.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I play for the Cardinals. I'm a Cubs fan, like. But Tennessee, their baseball team had one of the best records this year. They were like 56-9.
Okay. Yeah, and I saw
they lost
that they were like flipping the umps off and
Yep.
cussing them out. Yeah,
Yep.
that's crazy.
Well, some guy hit like a game-winning hit and flipped off the outfielders
Damn.
against like NC State or something like that. I don't. But anyways, Tennessee, they're the number one team entering the NCAA tournament. They're maybe like one game away from the tournament, or from the College World Series, and they got eliminated by Notre Dame.
Yeah. I think I saw a tweet. It was like the baseball gods have spoke or something like that.
Yeah.
Just kind of came back to bite them in the rear end.
Yep. Another kind of funny story. So the Los Angeles Angels, I think, they were managed by Joe Madden, who used to manage the Chicago Cubs. He gets a mohawk to inspire the team after they went on a 12-game losing streak. Well, he gets the mohawk, but he gets called into the offices and he gets fired before he can even show the team his mohawk.
Dang. Brutal life of professional sports, right?
That has to be like, yeah, I got a haircut. Oh, cool. You're fired. What?
Yeah, sorry, dude. Guess we won't see you tomorrow.
Yeah. And then I saw this story yesterday. Joey Votto of the Cincinnati Reds. First of all, 20 years with the same team.
Wow.
Never see that in baseball, it seems like. Joey Votto, some fan at a Reds game had a sign that said, "Hey Joey, please make a TikTok with me." He invited her down, and they made a TikTok during the game or something like that. That's just awesome. That's a cool little story.
Yeah, good little PR stunt. Looks good.
Yeah,
Family Guy.
Yep. And then our last baseball story. Are you aware of this Jock Peterson situation?
I'm not. I know who Jock Peterson is, but I haven't heard of the dilemma.
So him and Tommy Pham of the Cincinnati Reds, Jock Peterson plays for the San Francisco Giants. They're in the same fantasy football league. And like Mike Trout is the commissioner. And at one point, Tommy Pham got mad at Jock Peterson for putting injured players on the IR and just keeping them on his roster or something, like, which isn't illegal. It's weird.
It's kind of cheap.
Yeah. But he slapped him before a game and he got suspended. And then he's talking trash about Mike Trout's fantasy football commissioner abilities. And anyways, the Giants during their game yesterday had a shirt that said stashing players on the IR on your roster isn't illegal. they had
just trolling him a little bit.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
It's funny because it's like the most it's one of the more interesting baseball storylines, and it involves fantasy football. I just find that to be hilarious.
Yeah, I guess the people who are in the fantasy app are the ones playing the ones making the headlines, right?
Yeah. Are you aware of who Jack Del Rio is?
Yeah, I saw Jack Del Rio in the Denver airport. He's
really
he played for the Raiders, or
he played for the
Broncos?
Vikings. He played for the Vikings at one point.
Okay.
He used to coach the Detroit Lions, used to coach the Jaguars.
He used to coach the Raiders too, didn't he?
I think so, yeah. He's right now he's like a defensive coordinator, I think, for the Washington Commanders.
Okay.
Anyways, he got into a little hot water this week by saying that the January 6th Capitol riots were a little dust up.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Is he like trying to downplay it, or what's he trying to?
I think it sounded like he was, but like I don't know. And he got fined for it by the team, uh, and had to apologize to everybody for whatever. Just
Being insensitive or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
I would say just choose your words carefully in that situation.
Yeah.
So
People, well, politics are just so, they're so divisive right now, so polarizing. You make any wrong comment, you'll be chastised, canceled on Twitter. It's got to be
yep,
careful. You can't, it's got to keep it to yourself.
that
People
that
just freak out over everything. So
that's why I tend not to try and talk about politics or anything like that. I see
yeah,
people complain about gas prices, and whenever I see that, my first instinct that I want to say is, well, if you're going to complain about gas prices, which given they are high, but if you're going to complain about gas prices, make sure that you drive a good fuel efficient vehicle. If you drive like a Ford F-150, I have no sympathy for you. um, a vehicle that has terrible gas mileage, that's your fault for using one of those. And also, if you're going to complain about gas prices, don't go on vacation or go on, the Arizona Cardinal football games or anything like that. That's my, like, the same people that I see complaining about gas prices are the same ones that apparently can afford to go on vacation. So
yeah. I guess it's just water we've never really been to, right? Never
yeah,
had a national average of gas being $5, more than $5. So it's just
it's
something.
a world problem, I think, too, because there's some places where it's like Norway, it's like $10 a gallon.
Yeah, I think if the feds were to allow the sell of E15 and bioethanol year round, that'd probably help drive the price down a little bit if we became a little bit more dependent on American oil.
Yep.
But I mean, it's just everything's out of whack right now, right? Supply chain,
Yep.
you can't get anything in the mail. Freight costs are times by or have went up by like a factor of 4 in the past quarter. It's consumerism in America has definitely taken a shift from March of 2020 when gas was like $2 because no
Yeah.
one was traveling to COVID. And then everyone started ordering stuff to their house,
Yep.
right?
Well,
Everything is just backed up. Factories were shut down. We still can't get processors for computer parts or
yep.
different hardware parts. Like you'd think something like a docking station, something where you hook up a bunch of monitors to, and you plug your laptop or your desktop into it. Those are on like a 2-year back order right now.
You
Like
still can't you still can't find a PS5 in Walmart.
yeah, you can't find most electronics. They're really hard to come by right now, and
Yeah.
that's just. I think I don't know the solution to that. That's
Yeah.
thank God that's not my job. But
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, these are definitely problems that I mean they've kind of taken over the COVID complaints, right?
Yeah.
Thank God. I think everyone would have said a year ago that we need to get over COVID and that we need to stop talking about that. And
Yeah.
then now I'm starting to kind of think we need to stop talking about the gas prices and the supply chain backup, and something just needs to get done.
I
So
I
I guess we'll
would
see.
I would like to see the price of steaks to go down because uh it costs like $30 now for a steak that cost like $15 a couple of
Yeah,
years ago.
price of beef is definitely up.
Yeah.
So just everything. There's really nothing that the prices went down unless it's your stocks or cryptocurrency. Those are the only things that have went down recently.
I don't
So
even, do you understand cryptocurrency?
I do. I have
Really?
a fairly basic understanding of cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Are,
Um,
are you holding anything?
I do own a little cryptocurrency, not a ton, just enough to, I don't know, it's just something to fun to kind of check in on every once in a while. I did decent at it shortly after I bought it, but then it's since just crashed and went straight into the ground, and it's sitting pretty low right now. But
It
I guess we'll see. Who knows? It's just super volatile, and there's no backing. It's more like a casino or like gambling than it is actually an investment. But
it feels kind of like the stock market.
um, in a way, it kind of is. How it's like traded and how the price is driven is kind of like the stock market. But just in nature, it's totally different. It's not actually backed by anything. It's
Yeah.
pretty much just what people value the network which runs it at to be is what drives the price. So that's why Bitcoin was $10 in 2013 and then $50,000 in
Yep.
2020. It's just a social movement essentially.
I should
There's
have bought
no
I should have bought Bitcoin when I was told to in 2014.
Yeah, everyone, I feel like everyone says that. Same thing about like Tesla stock, like, oh, 2012, like in 2000, like I remember 2016, people were like, if I would have bought Tesla stock 4 years ago, damn, I'd be so rich right now. And then in 2019, people said that about 2016. And then in 2020, if you really would have bought it any time earlier, you would have doubled your money. So I guess that's just how life works, right?
Yeah.
Missed opportunities. It happens.
It is kind of interesting to see. Like, I don't know if you've gone to the mall in Rapid lately, but they have those places where you can park your electric cars or
Oh,
something like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
And
Right by
like,
Texas Roadhouse, right?
yeah. And you can charge them up. And it's like, we, the thought of that being a thing a decade ago would have been just like people would have thought you were out of your mind.
Yeah.
But
It's definitely where we need to go though, right? Like
yeah,
fuel, gasoline is finite, meaning we're gonna run out of it sooner or later, whether you like it or not. Whereas we can find sustainable ways to generate tons of electricity that doesn't have any byproducts, or if they do, something that's not as harmful to our earth. Like I'm a big proponent of nuclear energy. I've done some research on nuclear energy, and I think that's a pretty feasible option. It's kind of damned by some stigma with Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island and Fukushima in Japan. Those are what people like to cite. But yeah, I think we're humans and we make mistakes and then we learn from those mistakes, or at least we try. Sometimes we do a terrible job at that, but hopefully we kind of get something figured out, because all these natural disasters, they're not natural. Something else is going on.
yeah.
Something's crazy.
The whole thing, a lot of people are, this, that, or the other about the Keystone pipeline. And
Okay, sure.
my thinking on that is, you can build like an oil pipeline and things of that nature, but whatever you do, you better make sure that that thing is locked tight and shut. Because
Yeah,
if that oil gets on any of the farmland in the Midwest, you're going to have a lot of angry people.
yeah, right. There's risk to anything. There's a risk when you get into your car in the morning and drive to work. I mean,
Yeah.
you build something and then a tornado rips through and it rips it apart, and oil spills a massive amount on a cornfield in
Yep.
western South Dakota, or it spills into the Missouri River, and then you got yourself a hell of a problem. But I mean, I guess I have no idea what goes behind engineering a pipeline, but
No.
hopefully you'd think that it's 2022. We've got some pretty cool technology to where should be able to engineer that thing to be pretty durable and not have many flaws or none at all. That'd be
Isn't
the
Al-
goal, I suppose.
isn't Alaska supposed to be like super rich in oil?
Yeah, I think Alaska has a ton of oil.
Alaska and
Um,
Texas, I know, are like the two big states for that.
yeah, I know Texas definitely. Texas and Oklahoma, even North Dakota. North
Yep.
Dakota has a ton of oil. Yeah, big oil boom there in early 2010s, and
Yeah,
I think it's probably kind of slowed down a little bit. I guess I have no idea. I don't really keep up with the North Dakota oil industry.
That reminds me of one of my favorite little jokes. We've gotten off on such a wild tangent, by the way.
We
That
have.
well, that reminds me of one of my favorite jokes, and that it was like they were talking about the worst states. It was like a barstool thing. They were talking about like they were doing a bracket of worst states, and they were talking about North Dakota. And some guy said that the dream in North Dakota is to work like a 5-day shift and then get drunk and do meth or something like that. And I'm like, North Dakota, that ain't far off.
Yeah.
That's there's a lot of that going on in North Dakota.
I guess it's easy for us to say that down here in South Dakota, where we
Yeah.
might be a little biased. I love it how like I don't know, it's all good Midwestern love, but
Yeah.
North Dakota does not like South Dakota, and South Dakota does not like North Dakota. It's definitely true. Do
I
you
want
do you remember the mega Coda movement a few years ago when those kids started that online position to move or to make North Dakota and South Dakota into one Dakota
I
and call
remember
it
hearing
Mega
about
Coda?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm behind that. I think that would be pretty cool. Could you imagine how awesome Mega Coda sounds? Like, and then our population almost doubles
Yep.
right from that. Like
A
we're
lot of
we're
it in
finally above
Fargo.
1 million. What was that?
I said a lot of it's in Fargo.
A lot of what's in
A
Fargo.
lot of North Dakota's population is in Fargo, and
Yeah, I mean,
I guess Bismarck to an extent.
yeah. Same
It,
with South Dakota, Rapid City, and
yeah.
Sioux Falls.
Um. Let's get back on our topics here. Uh. This is probably a little bit before your time. Actually, it's definitely before your time. Uh. You don't remember Bruce Smith as an NFL player, do you?
I do not know.
Okay, so he played for the Buffalo Bills. I think he was the all-time sack leader for a good amount of time. I think he still is, actually. Played for the Buffalo Bills, played for Washington for a brief bit. It was really weird to see him in a Washington uniform after playing most of his career in Buffalo. But he said that Tony Baselli, who was the first overall draft pick in Jacksonville Jaguars history, he said that he shouldn't be considered an NFL Hall of Famer because his career was short. And he also played the majority of it with a left-handed quarterback. And that meant that he couldn't, like, because as a left tackle, if you're being a left tackle for a right-handed quarterback, you're protecting his blind side. But if you're a left tackle for somebody that's a left-handed quarterback, you're protecting his strong side, his the side that you can
Right.
see. And he's like, yeah, he shouldn't be an NFL Hall of Famer because of that, or a Pro Football Hall of Famer because of that. It's like he should be a Pro Football Hall of Famer just for being the first draft pick in Jaguars history. Wouldn't you say?
I'll take your word for it, Scotty, but I have no idea who any of those guys are. So
Okay.
sorry, man.
It's always kind of funny because I think one of the conversations that you and I have had is, were you born before or after September 11th?
I was born right after. I'm a November of '01 kid. So
Oh God.
yeah, I'm post 9/11.
Good God. That when you guys are going to, like, oh my God, that's gonna make me feel so old. But that's funny though. That's funny to me. It's like that shouldn't happen. Like,
What shouldn't happen?
it's like I feel like I'm getting, like, the older I get, the more it's like, you know, like I feel like I'm way older than I feel. And I like my I took a what do you call that? One of those like in body kind of things at the gym. I had one of those and it said my biological age, like how old my body feels, is 37. I'm not 37. I'm younger than
Really?
that.
Yeah.
But it's like when you see people that are like born after 9/11 become like 21 years old and you were like in elementary school when 9/11 happened, it makes you feel very old.
I get that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what was the this is gonna sound like a very bad question. I'm gonna try and choose my words carefully here. Is there something in your time that you would consider kind of like your 9/11, so to speak, like the big moment, social moment that
Mm,
that people your age will probably tell their children about?
uh, I'm sick of talking about it, definitely. But the 2020 pandemic was
Oh
it's
yeah,
probably been the biggest thing, I suppose. A lot of
that and
people died.
that and the race riots.
Yeah, 2020 was just a crazy year. I think it was
Yeah,
anticipated as like one of the best years ever, or is going to be one of the best years ever. And then it turned out to be an infamously horrible year.
yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. That was the year I graduated high school. I mean, I
I
thought it was pretty cool because I got out of high school like 3 months early and
Yeah,
I didn't really care. A lot of kids my age were all complaining about how they missed their last prom or their final track season or XYZ, but
I
it's
remember
life. You got
I
to move
remember
on.
your graduation very distinctly because it was outdoors,
Right.
and I believe you guys had a what do you call that? Like a parade around town.
Yeah. We like drove through the upper parking lot, like the teacher's parking lot at the high school and grabbed our
Yep.
diploma and then got back in the car. And
Yeah,
it was awesome for me because I didn't have to sit through a long commencement ceremony. I
that
just
would
got to kind of grab it and then just say, thanks, peace.
which first of all, I think that should always be the case. As soon as you get your diploma at a school the size of Pierce, as soon as you get your diploma, you should be able to leave.
Yeah. I guess
because
that's,
because like if you're in the A's like you are and you have to wait all the way until the Z's, that's like a 2-hour graduation ceremony.
yeah. I've sat through a few USD commencement ceremonies where they've let like a few thousand people have walked, and that includes undergrad and graduate. And
Goodness.
those get long, especially with the like actual distinguished speeches. They have someone come in, try and give some sophisticated, go out and get them speech before the graduating class of the university, which I've seen a few good ones. But yeah, those can be a hell of a lot longer. I had 195 kids in my graduating class. So I
Yeah.
think a commencement ceremony would have been manageable, but definitely would have gotten old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine how long, because I believe they still do this. I think Stevens and Central have their graduation together at
Oof,
at the Civic Center. Oh,
that'd be
yikes.
tough. Yeah. No, thank you.
Um, are you aware of the Brittany Griner situation?
I am. I've kind of paid attention to that a little bit since she got arrested in Russia. It's not a good deal. I
No.
don't think. I mean, prison in Russia is a lot different than
Yeah.
prison in the United States. Like you go to, we saw they just did that prisoner exchange with Russia. We got he was a former Marine who was over there visiting his girlfriend, and then he was alleged to have gotten in a drunk fight with a cop in Russia. They just did a prisoner swap. They sent back a KGB, which is like a Russian spy.
Yep.
The United States did, and the guy looked terrible. He was skinny and he looked malnourished. Just he did not look like he was in good health.
And
And they don't have the same prison standards we do in America, where you get
no.
3 meals a day and a
Yep.
shower and some exercise. That's a real dog eat dog world. You'll get eaten over there.
Yeah. She's been there since February. Given I I don't want to victim blame. I don't want that to sound like I'm doing this. what she did was illegal over there, and she probably shouldn't have done that. Taking a marijuana pen over whatever it is that she got arrested for.
Yeah,
But she shouldn't be there for, was it this June? So 4 months. She shouldn't be there for a quarter of the year.
yeah. And that is just a horrible lapse in judgment if that's true with what she did. But I agree that I mean, if you were in the United States and you got caught with a dab pen in South Dakota, you'd get like a ticket and maybe your
Oh yeah,
mugshot
you
would
get a fine.
show up in the paper. You'd probably go to the clink or at least go get booked in the jail, but you'd be out that night probably. Um, but let's take Singapore, for example. You go to Singapore and you have any sort of drugs on you and you're from a foreign country. Uh, Smuggling drugs in that country of any size is punishable by the death penalty.
Yep.
So you could just be killed. Like, and their court systems, they don't go by the Constitution of the United States and other countries. They have their own different legal process and the way that they find people guilty, and that can include bias and a lot harsher punishments than you'll ever can imagine in the United States. So you really have to kind of watch your P's and Q's when you travel outside of the United States, because you don't want to end up in a foreign prison. That would just not be good, especially in a third world or
Yeah.
like an Eastern European country. Those are just different standards, different government styles over there.
Yeah.
We're lucky to live in a democracy and have pretty open ends to our government, whereas a lot of other countries, it's not the case.
Our final topic. I know he doesn't play there anymore, but I mean, part of me thinks that if Matthew Morse was still at Wisconsin, he would have enjoyed playing in this. But Wisconsin is going to be playing Stanford in a basketball game at Miller Park this year.
Miller Park in Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Yeah. A basketball game at a baseball stadium.
Yeah. I've heard of basketball games at like at football stadiums, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen one at a baseball stadium.
Yeah. That's going to be an interesting visual to see like
Yeah.
that. Like, I wonder how they're going to do the seating and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like, are they going to have seats on the field? There's a lot that I'm very intrigued about as it relates to this.
Is it a turf field?
Yes, I believe so.
So they could probably just rip it up and then expose the bare floorings.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, it's a dome. It's a dome.
Yeah,
So it's
retractable roof.
Yeah.
And if you think about like how a baseball stadium is, usually like the back wall is super tall. So they'll probably put like bleachers descending down from that back wall leading to like the court. Probably kind of make it a little bit more of a stadium, increase capacity.
I wonder if somebody dunks, if Bernie Brewer is going to be going down that slide.
Oh yeah, I've been to a few Brewers games. I remember when someone hits a home run and he goes down the slide. Yeah, sure. That's awesome.
You guarded Matthew Morse in high school, didn't you?
I think so. Yeah, I think I guarded him a few times. He probably kicked my ass. He was a pretty good player.
I've always wondered this because I've seen you do it a couple times. You can dunk, or at least I don't know if you still can. Can you?
I can still get her down. Yeah.
What's it like to dunk?
If you would have asked me this when I was 9 years old, I probably would have told you it's a lot cooler than what I'll tell you right now. But I mean, it's fun, but it's worth 2 points, right?
Yeah.
Worth the same as a layup. So
does it hurt your hand at all?
No, I don't think so. I have pretty calloused hands anyway, so I got some man hands on me.
So what's your first of all, did you see the UFC fight? Once there UFC fights this past weekend?
Yeah, there was. So it was UFC 275. It was a pay-per-view event, and the main event is already being kind of regarded as one of the best title fights that the UFC has ever seen. I'll give you two takes on the UFC, the two best weight classes, the light heavyweights, which is
Yep.
205 pounders, and the lightweights, which is 155 pounders. It was the light heavyweight championship, which was the main event this past weekend. It was Glover Teixeira versus Yuri Prochazka, and it was a brawl. It was from the first minute you saw 42-year-old Glover Teixeira jump up and down. Then Mark Goddard slapped his hands and they ran at each other and just duked it out. It ended with 30 seconds left in the fifth round, so the final round. And Yuri Prochazka was named the champion. He was declared the champion. He choked out Glover Teixeira when they were both just absolutely destroyed. You should look up here. I'll see if I can find a picture. And
I was going to say, we do have screen sharing
yeah,
capabilities.
share my screen. They took a pretty cool picture the next day. And
so light heavyweights, is that the one that like was Jones in that?
John Jones was the longest reigning heavyweight champion. And yeah, he is now he's just moving up to 265. I can't find that picture. It was on ESPN MMA or UFC.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Jones, he defended his title, north of like 12 times. I think it was like 13 or something. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But John Jones was an extremely dominant fighter, crazy fighter. And he's moving up to heavyweight right now. Actually, he's been running into some obstacles.
I was just going to say, is he out of jail?
Yeah, he went to jail. So his first fight against Alexander Gustafsson got inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
I remember that fight.
And then later
very,
that night, he got arrested. Yeah, so that was a whole ordeal. But John Jones he's a wicked fighter, and I'm praying that he and Stipe Miocic, who is kind of regarded as the GOAT of the heavyweights, I'm hoping they have a fight before the end of the summer or early fall. But a few fighters to always watch out for if they're ever fighting are Yuri Prochazka and Glover Teixeira, the two guys who just fought. Glover Teixeira is now the champion removed in the light heavyweights, and Yuri Prochazka is the champion. And then personally, my favorite light heavyweight is Paul Bear Jew Craig. He's a Scottish fighter.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy who will get hit in the face like 100 times and be laying on his back bloodied, and then he'll throw you in a leg triangle and choke you out. He's absolutely insane, super fun to watch. And then also to the lightweights, Charles Oliveira is the champion.
Yep.
He's always been sold short. He actually had a really slow start to the UFC. I think he started out as like 10-8 in the UFC. I think that was his first 18 fights. He's been with the UFC forever, like 11 years. Just was getting killed like for the first part of his career. And then it just really turned it around and has proved to kind of be unstoppable. Some of the guys that he's recently beat, he beat Michael Chandler via second round knockout to win the title.
Yeah, that's my guy.
And then he choked out Dustin Poirier in the third round of his first title defense.
And I need to try his hot sauce.
Yep. And then there was a weight fluke. So he missed weight against his supposed to be third title defense against Justin Gaethje. That is all like debated. They think that the scales were messed with and he was a half pound over, and you have to strictly be at 155 pounds for championship fights, strictly at that weight limit. And so he was over by a half a pound, so he had to forfeit his title. But he destroyed Justin Gaethje. They still fought. So now Charles Oliveira is actually the number one contender in the lightweights. He's not the champion, but he's kind of recognized as the champion, I suppose.
Like an interim champion?
No. So he's not even the interim champion. Okay. Interim champion would be a different classification. They're still the number one contender. But since Charles Oliveira lost his undisputed belt, he wasn't able to defend it against Justin Gaethje. He becomes the number one contender in the lightweight divisions, and that belt is vacant. I just saw a report yesterday that Dana White is looking at Islam Makhachev, who is Khabib 2.0. He looks exactly like Khabib. He trains with Khabib. You'd probably mistake him for Khabib if you ever saw him. He and Charles Oliveira are going to be fighting for the vacant lightweight belt. like in September, October.
Okay.
Oliveira's on a 10-fight win streak, and Makhachev is on an 11-fight win streak. It's combat sambo versus Brazilian jiu-jitsu, two of the craziest fighters in the UFC, two of the strongest grapplers. So it's really going to be a brawl. I doubt it'll end in a decision, probably on the ground, either choking out, someone's going to tap, snap, or nap. And then some of the other crazy fighters in the lightweights are Michael Chandler. You just saw him punt Tony Ferguson's head off. Conor McGregor, he's most recently fought in the lightweights. I think he's going to make his return at welterweight at 170 if he does fight in the UFC again. I think he's going to go up a weight class. Have you been seeing how buff he is recently?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to want to shed all those pounds. But then you'll hear a big hype train is Paddy Pimblett. He's a guy who fights at 155.
Paddy the Batty, my guy.
Paddy the Batty. Yep, he's a lightweight. He's a 155 pounder. Everyone loves Paddy.
Liverpool's finest.
Character. Yep. I love those pictures of him. So like he's just like skin and bones, just shredded for his fight. And then like at his press conference after he got done choking his opponent out in the first round, he's hammering pieces of pizza.
Yep.
And then like a week later, he's just like unrecognizable. Like he's so fat. It looks like someone like photoshopped him. He's like, I love pizza. That's what he'll tell you. So funny. But yeah, there's some crazy fighters in the lightweight division and the light heavyweights. Some other light heavyweights, 205 pounders to keep an eye out for are Jamal Hill. He's him and Paul Craig fought last summer, and Paul Craig snapped his arm. If you remember that guy who got his elbow turned around, and then like he was still like elbowing him while his arm was just like flopping while he had him in a leg triangle. That was Jamal Hill who got his arm snapped. He is wicked. He hits you one time and you go out. And then some other guys are Thiago Santos, Dominic Reyes, and yeah, that's pretty much it for like kind of the underdogs, kind of the underlying. Anthony Smith, that's the guy I'm thinking of. He's from Omaha, Nebraska. He fights out of Omaha, and he kind of looks like a trailer park version of Randy Orton, but is wicked. He is nasty. He knocks everyone out. He has some of the filthiest knockout highlights. So if you're ever looking to watch some crazy knockout highlights, just look up Anthony Smith top finishes on YouTube, and you'll find a really cool video of him just killing dudes. Paul Craig, watch his highlights too. Those are my two guys in the light heavyweights.
I believe that somebody also retired after this weekend.
Yeah, you're thinking of Johanna.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce her last name either.
It's Unjacek, I believe. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think it's Joanna and Unjacek. Yeah, she got Zhang Wei Li hit her with a spinning back fist, made her go face first into the canvas. And then I felt bad for Joanna because Daniel Cormier tried to interview her after she had literally just woken up, and she sounded like an idiot.
Yeah,
that's actually kind of a.
She's had some of the nastiest post fight, like oh my gosh, look at her face after effects.
Yeah, you probably have seen the picture of her where she looks like Megamind. She got a huge hematoma, where just like literally just a ton of fluid filled up in her head, and she did not look recognizable. I don't remember who that fight was against.
Was that Nunes maybe?
No, it wouldn't have been Amanda Nunes. Joanna and Jacek is a strawweight, which is 115 pounds. That's the lowest.
Was it Thug Rose?
It could have been Thug Rose. It could have been Rose Namajunas. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on that. Yeah. I'm not as big into female fighters as I am guy fighters. I do like Juliana Pena, The Ultimate Fighter, which is the reality TV show of the UFC. The two coaches this season are Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena, and it's actually making for a pretty good season. There's some it's heavyweights. So Kamaru Usman, the top pound for pound fighter in the UFC, welterweight champion, His brother is a heavyweight on the Ultimate Fighter right now.
Oh my.
He's actually waiting to fight in the semifinals. So
Have you
yeah,
you haven't seen Jackass Forever, have you?
no, I haven't seen the new Jackass movie yet.
Usman is in that, and they do a cup check thing,
Yeah,
and they had Usman hit Danger Aaron in the balls to see if the cup worked.
yeah, I
Man,
wouldn't want to take
man,
a hit
man,
from
man
Usman.
went down just
Yeah,
like
Usman
that.
is crazy. Usman, Usman and Israel Adesanya. Those are my two favorite champions. Those two guys are warriors.
Yeah.
They're good fighters. Adesanya is a lot of fun to watch. He's slick with the dance moves, and he's kind of witty in the octagon. He kind of
Now,
clowns on his opponents.
now, when you watch these UFC fights, do you watch them, with the boys? Do you like all like get together, like, hey, Venmo me like $5 or $10 or whatever, something like that for to cover the $50 or however much it is price, or do you go to like a sports bar and watch it?
Yeah, so there's UFC events. There's actually another one this coming weekend, but it's a fight night, so it's not a pay-per-view. So as
Okay.
long as you have ESPN Plus, you can watch most of the UFC fights. They're only on Saturdays. Really, they kind of range from wherever they are in the world. Uh, will depend on what time they're aired in your time zone. So sometimes they'll be at like noon, sometimes they'll be at
Yep.
like 9 o'clock. Um, but this weekend is just a fight night. It's actually in Austin, Texas.
Mm.
We got Calvin Qatar versus Josh Emmett. It's a featherweight bout. It'll be not maybe a number one contender fight for the featherweights. Um, Alexander Volkanovski is going to be defending his title against Max Holloway later this summer. Volkanovski is a crazy fighter as well. And then Qatar versus Emmett might determine who sees the winner of that, as long as it's Volkanovski, essentially. But some other guys, big names that are fighting are Donald Cowboy Cerrone is
Oh, my
fighting Joe
guy.
Lazon this weekend. They're the co-main event.
Ooh.
Yep. And then Kevin Holland is also fighting, if you know who he is. He's kind of a well-known welterweight. And then you probably won't recognize this name, but you've probably seen his top highlight, Yoquan Buckley. He's the guy who his leg kick got caught, and then he jumped up, did a spinning wheel kick, hit the dude straight in the face. He went like
Yep.
stiff and then just like fell straight back. He's fighting this weekend as well. So it'll be a pretty good card. I'm expecting the Calvin Qatar versus Josh Emmett main event fight to be a banger. So if you have ESPN Plus, 6 p.m. is when the main card starts on ESPN Plus Saturday. So that Calvin Qatar versus Josh Emmett fight will probably happen around 8 or 9, I'm guessing.
I,
But
I'm gonna
definitely tune in for that.
I'm gonna be in Rapid at the WWE event that night. So
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, which I believe one of the matches on the docket is Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. And then we have a triple threat match where it's like Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, and Asuka. And then Ronda Rousey's going to be there.
Really? Nice.
Supposedly,
That's
she's
awesome.
she's on the thing. I don't know who she is fighting or anything, but
Yeah.
getting to see Ronda in person.
Yeah, for sure.
Holy
She
holy
got a
cow!
hot start to the UFC, and then she got destroyed pretty fast. That just
Mm-hmm.
really shows you how tough of a sport mixed martial arts can be. I mean, I don't know if I could take getting knocked out in front of millions of people and then that being replayed all
Yeah,
the time, like brutally knocked out. Like we all saw what Holly Holm did to Ronda Rousey, kicked her in the face, and she went stiff as a board. It's kind of scary.
yeah.
And then Ronda Rousey never recovered from that. That's why she's in the WWE now. It's just it's just definitely a sport of who's got the biggest heart and the strongest mind. Tony
Yeah.
Ferguson. Let's see if he comes back from what just happened to him. Oh my gosh. Crazy.
The thing that makes me not watch the UFC isn't like necessarily the fights or really even the price point or anything. Well, first of all, I loved watching them when it was at Buffalo. I would go to Buffalo Wild Wings in college and watch them. That was
Sure.
awesome. That was awesome because they wouldn't like charge you anything extra. You would just like go in there, eat food, drink beer, watch the UFC fights.
Right.
You know, but the thing that detracts from the UFC is also kind of the thing that everybody knows it for, and that's Dana White. I freaking hate Dana White.
You don't like Dana White?
No,
Why
he's
not? I
he's
love Dana White.
he's a cocky asshole.
Yeah. Wouldn't you be though if you were a big fight promoter like he is? Isn't that kind of part of the character? I think
Yeah,
I do like Dana White's character. He definitely plays a role in it. Where he
yeah,
sits there with that big old bald head, and then he daps up fighters after they knock someone out. Have you ever seen
yeah.
his Fuck It Fridays? I love his
Well,
Fuck It Fridays.
that's the other thing. He stole Scotty's crunchy critiques. That
Oh, you
bastard.
think so? Yeah.
Yeah, I would do the same thing, and
Yeah.
now I end up, stealing his ideas
Oh yeah.
essentially. I've tried a couple of the things that he says to try. So
Sweet. Yeah.
yeah,
No, I think Dana White, he's definitely someone to kind of admire with what he's done with the UFC. He took it from kind of being a shit show and turned it into a pretty successful
I
deal.
I
I
really
mean,
just
not many
don't.
people. What
I
was that?
really just don't like the way he treats Ariel Hawani. That's really
Oh
the
yeah,
thing. I don't
the
like the way he
ESPN
treats him.
reporter.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Um, I guess yeah. Dana White just honestly, he does not care about like anyone's feelings. So
no,
I mean, he's a pretty. I mean, I think that's kind of how you have to be. You kind of have to tell when you're a guy like Dana White. You kind of have to tell people what's up, like how you're going to do things, make it known.
yeah.
Because then he's the one making the calls. He's clearly made the right calls. He's made some pretty good calls too with some of the fights he's put together. Something pretty cool, I think, is to kind of have witnessed.
I'm waiting for the day that Dana White finally pulls the trigger and has Jake Paul or one of the Paul brothers in a UFC fight. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, that's the thing is I don't
That's
know how
gonna
they would
happen at some
fare.
point. That's
Yeah,
gonna happen.
they better start the Paul brothers better start training hard for MMA because that's a lot different than just boxing. Boxing is a
Yeah.
martial art singular, whereas mixed martial arts is boxing and it's jujitsu and it's wrestling. And I know that they were like state champion wrestlers in Ohio, where
Hmm.
they're from, and they were really good. Um, but the type of guys that you get in the UFC, these are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world class fighters or combat sambo world champions or Muay Thai world champions, like an Israel Adesanya, dudes that'll kick your head off or choke you out before you even knew what the hell happened to you. Like these guys, they're trained killers. So, and Jake Paul, he knocked out Ben Askren in a boxing match and Tyron Woodley in a boxing match. Not discrediting that at all, but to say that you'd be ready to get into an octagon with Kamaru Usman and dance with him for 5 rounds, you're joking me. He would turn your head around faster than he did Jorge Masvidal's. I will stand by that too.
Yeah.
Jake Paul ever hears that, I'd love to see him fight Usman in an MMA fight.
How do
He
you
never
feel?
would, I don't think.
How do you feel about Colby Covington?
Colby Covington, hell of a fighter. Um, and he
Major
clearly
asshole
owns real.
though.
Oh yeah, he clearly owns some real estate in people's heads. People can't take what he says. He says some pretty nasty stuff too.
Yeah,
Um, thing that I don't like is you're probably referring to the Jorge Masvidal Colby Covington beef
a
where
little bit.
Masvidal sought him out at a steakhouse in Miami and
That's a
slugged
little
him in the
weird.
face. Yeah. I think that's kind of BS on Masvidal's part. Think about it. Promoting your fight doesn't just start and end with Dana White. Colby Covington sells pay-per-views.
Hmm.
He's gonna shit talk you until you can't take it anymore.
It's like Chael
And
Sonnen was.
right, exactly like Chael Sonnen was, kind of the D-bag white guy character, right? And they
Hmm.
sell pay-per-views. People like watching that. And it makes it even more fun when they get their ass kicked. Like when Anderson Silva came back and choked out Chael Sonnen in the 4th round of their ballbuster fight after getting his ass whipped for like 3.5 rounds. Um, but yeah, Colby Covington, I don't agree with what Masvidal did. He had 25 minutes to do whatever he wanted to Covington, and then to go cheap shot him at a steakhouse and knock his tooth out. What the hell, dude? Settle it face to face. But um, I still do like Jorge Masvidal. I think Masvidal is a cool fighter to watch too, for sure.
One thing that about Dana White that I also is he kind of talks down on pro wrestling, and yet he uses a lot of pro wrestling tactics in order to sell his fights.
In what ways? Like, what do you mean? Like, what does he steal from the WWE to sell his fights?
Well,
What
I
are
mean,
the tactics?
you're talking about like promotion or promoting and using your fighters in order to promote. That's exactly what WWE does. That's exactly what pro wrestling is.
Yeah, they're kind
Is
of two of the same, but just different in like how business is carried out, right? Like you get into a UFC octagon and fists are actually hitting faces, whereas you get into a WWE ring and it's acting. It's showmanship.
Yeah.
It's still like, I mean, there's still the element of surprise, the same type of element of surprise, except WWE is predetermined, whereas UFC, it's let's see what the fuck happens, right?
Yeah.
Um, so they're different in nature in that way, but it's still person v person, square off. Let's see who looks bigger on the scales or on the stage, and then we'll throw you guys in a cage and see who comes out on top. Still the same type of deal, but definitely a little different. I think if you were to point out the fact that Dana White tries to steal WWE fighters sometimes,
He does.
or WWE wrestlers, like Brock Lesnar, still one of the biggest fighters the UFC has ever seen.
I
And
don't
then
think
CM
Brock's
Punk,
ever going to come back.
oh, he'll never get back into MMA.
No.
MMA is it's a different breed. It's super hard on your body. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine getting in there and taking a leg kick.
And there's actual
Dustin
drug
Poirier.
testing.
Yeah, literally. You can't like peds are super frowned upon. It's a combat. It's an actual combat sport. So
They're almost encouraged.
give yourself a chemical advantage in actual fighting is super cheap. Whereas in the WWE, it just looks better if you do.
Yeah.
If you do take peds. So, but like you saw what happened to CM Punk, I'm sure when he went into MMA, he got killed. It's the big boys league. You got to have a few bolts loose in order to do it, but there's something to kind of admire about an MMA fighter. Like I couldn't imagine getting knocked out on a mat and then getting back up and wanting to do it again, or knocking a dude out and being able to jump up on a cage and flex to the crowd. Be sweet in front of 25,000 people. Not many people can say that they've done both or would want to do both, me included, but I think it's fun to watch, and I think it's a good perspective, and it's a mentality, at least.
Speaking of MMA, shout out to my guy Potential. I mean, it might take some wrangling up, but I could maybe get him on the show. My guy Logan Storley, a Bellator world champion.
Yeah, he's the interim welterweight champ in Bellator, which is awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Did you already give the picks that you said you were going to give, or do you have more?
I guess I'm really bad at giving picks for UFC. I always say like, oh, X is going to win, and then they always lose. Or like I'll tell someone to put money on someone like in a bet, and then they always lose. The one parlay that I'm really proud of that I actually hit, it was the Dustin Poirier versus Oliveira fight, and then Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena were the co-main event, so 2 championship fights. I picked Pena and Oliveira, and they both win. And Pena was like one of the largest underdogs in MMA history, and she came out winning. One of my buddies put like $5 parlay on Pena and Oliveira, and it hit like $75. So that was pretty cool. I was pretty proud of myself after that. I was like, woo, let's go.
I kind of have to laugh. I don't know if the sun is coming through your window or what, but you kind of look angelic right now.
Yeah. The sun's starting to set, and I got a big window in my room that it's coming through. I'll turn this way.
But Yeah, that's basically it. We are doing a draft after this with Big Daddy Dave about worst sports fan bases. Uh, who are some of your least favorite sports fan bases?
Ooh, definitely the Vikings. Yeah, I'm a Packers fan, or at least I claim to be a Packers fan. Um, and that's really it. And maybe that's because I grew up going to Vikings games. I was lucky enough to go to a few of those. Um, and I just, for whatever reason, uh, I never liked the environment's always a lot of fun. Everyone's super nice, just the Midwestern nice. Um, but I just, for whatever reason, I just can't stand a Vikings fan. I just can't stand the Vikings fan base. No offense, Scotty, you're a
Uh,
good friend of mine, but
yeah.
Vikings got to be one of the worst fan bases to me.
Honestly, I can
You'll say
I
the same
can
about the Packers.
I can 100% see your point, because right now it feels like the only thing that Vikings fans care about is whether or not Kirk Cousins is any good.
That's been
Um,
debated for like years on end.
yeah,
That's the question every year.
yeah. Um, I guess we'll find out with what even is our coach's name, McDaniel or something like that. I don't even know what his name is.
Beats me.
It's not Mike Zimmer anymore. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Um, but before we get to that, we have a word from our sponsor.